10% money you're supposed to.
It's hard to hear you. Sorry. It's hard to hear you. Okay, it's difficult to understand you. The connection's not very good. So I don't know what the deal is, but can you try it again?
Can you hear me right now?
A little bit better. A little better. Go ahead. The law of tithing is supposed to be what?
Is it biblical, the law of tithing?
I have to know what the law of tithing is before I can tell you if it's biblical. So what is it?
Okay, the law of tithing, the church says like you're supposed to donate 10% money to your income to the church.
The law of tithe. Okay, it's not. Okay. We are free to tithe. It's not a law that we have to tithe. We are not under the Old Testament law. So we are free to tithe to the church in order to support. It's not some law that we have to keep. Okay?
Okay, so it is not under any compulsion, you mean?
No, not under any legal compulsion at the tithe. But you see, if we are Christians and we want to be biblical, and what we want to do is support God, then it's best to tithe. We're free to do that. And we should be doing that. And we should. All right?
Okay. Okay. So according to you, like as a Christian, should we be under any kind of law or no?
Yeah, the law of love. The law to love the Lord to God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and with all and love your neighbors yourself. This is Jesus said that in Matthew 22, 37, and 39, which he was quoting respectively Deuteronomy 6, 5, and Leviticus 19, 18. So he's quoting the Old Testament when he said, "Love God and love your neighbor." This is what we're supposed to be doing. And he also says he gives a new law that we love one another. The law of love is what we're supposed to be doing. So if we're loving God and loving our neighbor, we'll be doing things like tithing. We'll be doing things like being honest. Things like that. Okay?
Okay. And just one question, just to clarify. Like, I mean, if I donate to the church, should we be under any kind of like a 10%, 5%, or whatever I can?
I would say do what you can according to the conscience that you have with God. You're not obligated to. You're free to. I know people who donate less. I know people who donate more.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So both sides is fine.
Yeah. It just, just tithe and just tithe, support the church. The pastor works hard. I know. They work very hard. And what a lot of people say is, no, they just need to just get a second job or get a job and do pastoring full-time. And what their people are saying is that they want the pastor to work 2 full-time jobs so that they can get paid and live. And, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. But a lot of people don't understand that the pastor works very hard. Generally speaking, they do. And they work long hours, and they're on call 24/7. And so, you should support them. Okay?
Okay. Okay, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, God bless.
Okay, God bless. Take care.
All right. And speaking of a little bit about the cash thing and the money thing, hey, folks, look, if you want to keep this show on the air, we would love it if you went to matchlicklive.com. Matchlicklive.com. It'll forward you to, it'll forward you to the CARM website where you can donate. You can support this ministry to keep the radio show on the air. We had an arrangement where someone was supposed to get some advertising for us, and we just recently found out that he's been doing that, and so that left us high and dry. So we have to decide the next few weeks whether or not we're going to continue or not, and if we don't, we don't. If we do, we do. It's all up to God and how He works through His people. So if that sounds something like you want to support, please go to matchlicklive.com, and it'll forward you to the CARM website where you can donate. Would love to see you do that. If not, that's okay. No worried about it. All right. All right. Let's get to Renee from Texas. Renee, welcome to the show.
Hi, Matt. It's Renee Edison's wife. It's been a while since I've called in. How are you?
Okay. Get a weird connection there. Tell them I said hi.
Will do. Let me know if the connection is bad.
It's not a good one, but I can understand you. But go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, it's echoing in my phone, so it's kind of
Yeah.
hard for me.
Well, do you have the radio on the background or anything?
No.
No, nothing? Okay. That's just what it is then.
Okay. Well, anyways, we are wrestling with, and I don't know if you know, I have a mental illness. I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1, and I treat the illness with medications, which sometimes we've discussed on the show. It tends to be a hot topic with Christians. And I and treat myself. It's a blessing. God really uses that in my life to help me stay stable. But my husband and I have a family member who also suffers from mental illness that is, I will just say, I'm really struggling in this relationship to say, where is it mental illness versus a person making poor decisions? I'm struggling to figure out how to relate to this family member and love them. Yet the world's approach to mental illness is that you're just a victim. You're not responsible for anything that you do sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
so
let me kind of
where
address.
does accountability begin, you know?
Well, that's something God knows. And just because we are ignorant of something doesn't mean we're not accountable for what we're doing. But a lot of people, this is a good topic. Let me just address it generally. Is it okay to take medication for issues like bipolar? And the answer is yes. We take medicine for sicknesses. We take over-the-counter, whatever it is, for colds and head colds. We take various things. And sometimes there's a stigma on the mental aspect. The physical brain is like an arm. It's physical. It's got parts, and things go bad in those parts sometimes. And so blessings abound with some medicines. And now, coincidentally, we have on staff a retired clinical psych nurse. So we've had lengthy discussions about the use of these kind of drugs that basically help a lot of people. And boy, do they. They can make life incredibly good. Now, that's something I want people to know. Take drugs. Take medications like that under the prescriptions of the doctor, after having been examined, so you're not abusing them and things like that. There's no problem with that. Okay, so just want to lay the foundation for that. There you go. Now, I'm not exactly sure I was understanding what the issue was with this other person. You said several things. So if you could cut it down to one question, what might that be? Maybe it would clarify it.
I'm struggling to determine how much we're going to have to support this family member and how much can we? And do we hold them responsible
for poor
decisions that they make?
Yeah, absolutely.
They have this mental illness.
Oh, it would depend on the extent of the mental illness. If you were, what if a mental illness reduces someone to the IQ of 60 or 70 because in the effect that they're not able to think clearly and rationally, then that has to be taken into account in the struggles of what they're going through. And it does, because if you have a family member who's got Down syndrome, you wouldn't expect certain levels of responsibility with somebody. And that's not their fault to be born in that state. Yeah. But is it their fault with the drugs? Well, yes and no. Because is it their fault that their brain is whacked, born that way? No, it's not. So you see, it gets to be complicated on how to answer the question. And I think each thing needs to be done in like I say, a case-by-case basis. If it appears that the person's problem is causing him or her not to be able to be responsible, then institutionalization might be necessary, or something else might be necessary. But if the person is not institutionalized and is able to function in society, then he's responsible for his decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
we're working on determining that, and I know you can't explain that much, but I thought it was a good subject just because mental illness is so controversial. We're planning on meeting with a counselor, but I am just so struggling to figure out how much am I responsible for this.
Yeah, it's a toughie. I talk to other people too and see. Well, you know what? Gotta go because the music's right there, and we'll just talk to you later. God bless. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Bye.
Right back after this call. Give me a call, 877-207-2276. Right back after this break, that is.
Imagine what it's like to be active your whole life and then find out you're going blind. That's what happened to me. I have age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. As a wife, mother, and grandmother, my sight is precious to me. What a relief when I found out that treatments for some forms of AMD are available and that research is underway on additional preventions and treatments. AMD is the leading cause of vision loss in people 55 and over. When I started seeing blurry spots in the middle of my eye, I saw my doctor. She suggested I review the prevention and treatment information on fightblindness.org. Did you know that some forms of AMD can be slowed down or stopped, and in some cases reversed if found in time? Get more information about preserving your vision. Call the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-BLINDNESS for a free packet on reversing or managing AMD. Or go to the website where I found so much helpful information. Fightblindness.org, 1-800-BLINDNESS, 1-800-254-6363, or fightblindness.org.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erkson Tata, and we build habits around the things that matter to us. It's why I make it a habit of singing wherever I go. Mostly hymns that lift up the name of Jesus or songs that glorify the cross. Things like this matter to me, and they matter to God. Every morning as I wheel out the door, I quietly ask God to give me a song that centers on the cross. And by the time I wheel through the front door of our headquarters at Johnny and Friends, I'm still either singing or humming that hymn. And I'll sing it all the way to the second floor as I wheel up the ramp, loud enough for my coworkers to hear. And I love how the music fills the lobby. You know, singing songs about what Jesus did on the cross is a way of preaching, of singing the gospel to myself. So, how about you making it a habit of telling yourself the good news of Jesus every morning? And yes, if you want, you can even make a habit of singing it.
Harvest America Moment with Pastor Greg Laurie.
Jesus said in Mark 11:22, have faith in God. Some people say, well, I don't believe in faith. Really? Come on, use faith all the time. How about when you board a 747? Though you know little about aerodynamics, you trust that somehow, even though it has a takeoff weight of 900,000 pounds, that baby's going to get up in the air and get you safely to your destination. And you're also applying faith toward the people in the cockpit that are flying that beast. So don't tell me you don't use faith. Use faith every day. God's saying, put your faith in me. Have faith in God.
Impact your world with the gospel by knowing God and making him known. Connect with Pastor Greg Laurie and sign up to receive his free daily devotion emails. To get started, visit harvest.org today.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Hey, if you want to give me a call, just get that number out again, 877-207-2276. And we also need your support if you'd consider going to mattslicklive.com, mattslicklive.com, and you can donate there. We'd really like that because we do need it if we're going to stay on the air. And we're going to have a debate. I'll be in a debate tonight on the nature and the extent of the atoning work of Christ with a guy named Jesse Morrell, who's a moral government theologian, or, well, he holds some moral government theology along with Pelagianism and open theism. And all of those are heresies. So it'll be interesting. Anyway, if you want to give me a call, again, 877-207-2276. Alex, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you doing? It's great to be back on your show.
All right, man. What do you got, buddy?
Yeah, I would like to know the thorn that was in Paul's flesh.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe that? Would you describe that as an ill? Well, you know, the King James.
Let me just jump right in. No one knows what it is. Okay, so the thorn in the flesh, some think is his bad eyesight. Because in Acts chapter 9, when he was knocked off the horse with the blindness following, and then in Galatians, I think it's Galatians 6:1, it says, let me see, Galatians 6:11, he says, see with what large letters I'm writing to you with my own hand. And some think that maybe there's a connection there, that he's writing in big letters because his vision was bad, because it was damaged in that incident in the brightness of Christ. But nobody knows for sure.
No, I have a guess. the chapter before that, chapter 11, from verse 24, it says, 5 times I received 39 lashes. I was beaten with rods. I was shipwrecked. From 24 to 27, it talks about all the trials and tribulations he went through. Verse 30 says, if boasting is necessary, I will boast about my weakness. In the King James, infirmity.
Right.
I mean, it's the same word that is used in verse 9. Is there any, would I be out of context if I was to say, well, Paul's weakness in chapter 12, verse 9, it's not illness, it's all the hardships he goes through based on the previous chapter.
Could be.
Would I take that out of context?
No, I think it's a possibility. We don't know what it is. So could it be all his persecutions or the result of his persecutions and scars and broken bones, and maybe he's limping because of things, or his eyesight was bad? There's just different theories, and nobody knows for sure.
The reason I ask, because I'm 32 years old, and I just turned 32 yesterday, and I've been, my goodness, I've seen like 9 different doctors, 5 different specialists. I've been having a lot of pain, and no one is able to pinpoint what it is. They think it's nerve pains, but they're not really sure. And a brother from the church was telling me, hey, dude, do you think this is your thorn in the flesh like Paul? And I didn't want to say yes, because I want to say, hey, I'm not Paul. Don't insult me to
well, it could be
apostleship level. But
yeah, it could be. I know what you're saying. I know a lot. I've got a high IQ, but I also have Asperger's, and it keeps me back and forces me to rethink things. I know people who've got issues. They have strengths, they have weaknesses, and it's a way of balancing that God used to balance us. So who knows? Okay, who knows what Paul's thorn of the flesh really was, and we don't know what your issue is. Maybe you just need to eat better and lay off of certain foods that are causing a negative reaction in your body. The reason I'm saying that is my wife has issues, and her thorn of the flesh is me, but she has other issues, and health eating is really it really helps. So okay.
Hey, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
I know you got other callers, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but God bless you in the ministry.
God bless, Alex. All right. Okay.
One last question. God forbid if your show doesn't go off the air, right? And hopefully, God willing, I should be expecting some cash flow. Where could me or other of the viewers be able to?
If anybody wants to support, they can just go to matchlicklive.com. And there's everything is right there, and if you put that way, we know it comes in for the radio. And then the problem is if it comes in for the radio and we lose the radio anyway because we don't have enough, then we can let them know that we can earmark it for something else or whatever. It just goes for ministry anyway. But the idea is to use it to support the radio show, to keep it on if people want it on. Okay.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Alex. God bless.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, if you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. You can also dial same number, 877-207-CARM, C-A-R-M. Marco from New Jersey, how are you?
How you doing, man?
Doing all right, man.
I have a question. When it comes to women as a pastor, I read the verse and I agree with everything that you post on carm.org.
Good.
But I was asking a brother in the church, a different church.
Okay.
And I told him about 1 Timothy 2, I think it's 2:12,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. And one of his answers was from 1 Corinthians 11, when he talks about the covering of the head.
Yes.
He's saying that nowadays we don't do that because that's culture. That's culturally different, and since the culture has changed, in the same way as we don't use head covering, we also have women pastors because the leadership is different. How will I answer for that?
The issue of the head covering is cultural out of 1 Corinthians 11 and 1 Timothy 2, 12 and 13. It's not cultural because Paul equates it to the created order of God. That's the answer. Okay, because it says, for it was Adam who was first created and then Eve. This is why women are not to teach or exercise authority over men in the church. They're not to do that because Adam was first created. That's what it says. The other stuff about head covering, that's a cultural thing. So he's right about 1 Corinthians 11. It's cultural. 1 Timothy 2, 12 and 13 is not, because verse 13 tells you it's not cultural. It's theological. Paul is appealing to the created order of God himself. Okay?
That's what I told him, but he didn't agree with me.
Well, then he's wrong. You tell him he's wrong. You see, people tell me, Matt, you're not nice sometimes. I'm sorry, my Asperger's coming up, but it's like, dude, you're wrong. That's what it says right there. I mean, what are you going to do? There's created. Is that a cultural thing? He'll have to say no. Well, then it's not a cultural thing. Yes, it is. Dude, it says it right here. That's what I do with people when I have debates with them, because they refuse. They refuse to believe what it says. They refuse. And I'll say, look, dude, it says right here, because it was Adam who was first created. Is that a cultural thing or a created order thing by God? He's going to have to say created order thing by God. So, okay, not a cultural thing, is it? And if he says, yes, it is a cultural thing, so you just contradicted yourself. And then when they continue,
I see.
Then when they continue, I've had people continue. No, it's still cultural. I'll say, I ask them a question. I say, do you drive a car? They'll say, yeah. What state do you live in? Missouri. Oh, great, because I want to make sure I'm not on the road with you. If you think that I don't know how you're going to interpret speed signs, routes, or anything else that has to do with plain language. All right? There's the music. Got to get going, buddy. All right, Marco.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, women are not to be pastors and elders. It's unbiblical. If you want to have a discussion about it, give me a call. Let's stay tuned. Right after the break, we'll be right back.
Imagine what it's like to be active your whole life and then find out you're going blind. I have age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. As a wife, mother, and grandmother, my sight is precious to me, so I was relieved to find that treatments for some forms of AMD are available, and research for additional treatments is underway. Call the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-BLINDNESS for a free packet on reversing or managing AMD. Or go to the website, fightblindness.org, where I found so much helpful information. Call 1-800-BLINDNESS today.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is a public service announcement test from takemefishing.org to determine if you need a fishing license and boat registration before heading out on the water. Let us begin. Are you a bear? Do you have a beak? Do you have plumage? Please tell me you answered no, which means you need to get a fishing license and have your boat registered, because it helps local conservation efforts protect the very natural resources you enjoy boating and fishing in for generations to come. Do your part at takemefishing.org.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Just a Thought with Ravi Zacharias.
Do you know who were the most learned from the medieval times? Do you know who started the universities and the places of learning? It was those in the ministry. They were amongst the highest and the most educated. You have a mind that God has given to you. You will never be able to worship Him without giving Him your best. The best of your time. The best of your intellect. The best of your substance. The best of your gifts. You cannot worship God without emotion. You cannot worship God without reverence. You cannot worship God without sacrifice. You cannot worship God without the purity of heart. For who shall ascend unto the hill of the Lord, but he that hath clean hands and a pure heart?
helping the thinker believe and the believer think. For more information, go to rzim.org.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We need your support. Please go to mattslicklive.com. It'll forward you to our page, and you can support the show if you want to keep it on the air. Let's get to Jeff from Raleigh, North Carolina. Jeff, welcome to the show.
How are you, brother?
Doing all right, man? What do you got?
I have a comment and a question. My comment is, I agree with your interpretation of 2 Corinthians 12, where Paul talks about the thorn in the flesh.
Okay.
Because I've studied that, and I also agree that, we don't know for sure what it was.
Right,
and I'm actually glad that the language that's used there is ambiguous enough, because that means we as Christians can apply that to literally whatever situation where we're going through, whether it's Asperger's or what have you.
There's a yes and no.
The Lord.
There's a yes and no to that, but yeah, the sentiment is understood. What's your question?
My question is, what are your thoughts on the King James Version only movement?
It's dumb. That's it. That's the one thought. It's dumb. And they should abandon it. The King James is a fine Bible. I'm not knocking it. King James only-ism is really a dumb movement to have. You can go to Romans 5:18, and you can see that they translate that verse incorrectly. And you can compare it with the NASB and the NIV. I've done this extensive study on this. Some King James only people say that if you really want a true Bible, you have to go to the 1611. Well, they don't even go to the 1611. It's hard to read the 1611. But they'll say the 1611 is the official, let's just say, inspired book, Bible. And then I'll say, well, does that mean then that all other languages ought to be translated from the 1611 King James? Because that's what it would mean. They will say that other versions are corrupted and only the 1611 is the true version. It's ridiculous. And the King James is fine, but it's just it makes not doctrinal errors, but let's just say that it does not do very well in some areas when it comes to the Greek translation. There's some areas that it's got problems with. Okay.
Right. Agreed. I wholeheartedly agree.
It's a good. I use it still, but King James was wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because right.
Okay.
I appreciate your answer, Matt.
All right. Well, there you go. Let's move on to the next caller then. Okay. God bless, Jeff. Thanks a lot. All right. That was Jeff, and now we're going to get to, let's see who's up next. It would be Jane. Jane from North Carolina. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. I have a comment for you, though.
Okay.
I don't have a question at this point, but I'm a Christian licensed professional counselor.
Oh.
And I felt really sad when you said to the young woman that was talking about bipolar that people with mental illness, their brain is whacked.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't said it that way.
Like that might I wish you hadn't, too.
Yeah.
I think that's sad, and I think there is stigma on mental illness, which also I think is just wrong. Lack of understanding. These people either have a chemical deficiency or something biologically going on, and they need our compassion, not our judgment. So I just felt sad and thought, I'm going to tell you if it felt sad.
Well, I'm
and
glad.
I wish you'd chosen another word.
I'm glad you did. I absolutely accept and take that correction. I wish I had said a different word. And sometimes I'm doing three things at once here, and the words don't come out right. And, it was a bad choice. It was.
Well, I appreciate your saying that, Matt. I think it takes a big person to say, I wish I'd done something different. So, bless you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right.
Okay, God bless.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, sometimes on the radio, you'll say things and you go, oh, I wish I hadn't said it that way. And it happens. That reminds me, once I was preaching and the elders came after the sermon. And they said, you know what you said up there while you were preaching? I said, what? And they said, you said Jesus is not God. And I said, I did not. And they all laughed. And they said, we have it on recording that you said it. And I'm chuckling because obviously, and they understood it was just a mistake. You start thinking ahead and you start doing things and you kind of mess up sometimes. And we got a chuckle out of that. And I said, "Now you're going to use that against me, are you?" And they were laughing. But it happens. Yeah, I wish I hadn't said that because their brains aren't whacked. They're not whacked. They have an issue, and they need our compassion. They don't need judgment. They don't need mockery. They don't need ridicule. These are people going through some very difficult issues. I know because I've got, let's say, some family members who, let's just say, have some issues. And I'll be very generic about it. And they need compassion. And they need love. They don't need more judgment that pushes them further into other areas of problems. They don't need that. Okay? All right. So I'm glad she called up and made that comment because she was right. All right. Let's get to Chuck from Morgan Hill, California. Hey, Chuck. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Matt. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Okay. I have a question. Two questions real quick. One is on the Trinity. Am I explaining it correctly to my young daughter? And the second question is on any TV ministers on TV you approve of. I personally don't like most of them, like 95% of them. But as far as the Trinity goes, I believe in the Trinity. One God manifests himself in three distinct persons, Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. So I have a young daughter, and I was explaining the Trinity to her like this, and I want to make sure I'm using a correct analogy. Her name's Katie, and I said, Katie, I said, you're my loving daughter. One day when you get married to your husband, you're going to be his beautiful wife. And one day, if God blesses you further, you're going to be a mother. And to that child, you're going to be that child's beautiful mother. There's only one Katie. I said, but look at how you manifested yourself in three distinct persons. Is that a correct analogy if I'm spreading that?
No.
Okay.
And the reason is because you have one person who's a wife, one person who's a daughter, one person who's a mother. And you said manifestation. Okay. So let me kind of work through this for you. So what you're doing in that analogy is using the same analogy that the oneness Pentecostals use. That they'll say God himself at one time is God the Father, another time he is the Son, another time he is the Holy Spirit. And so they're saying there's different modes or different manifestations of the single person. And so when you say that, she is going to be a wife, a daughter, and a mother, that's okay depending, if she's 5 or 6 years old, okay. But then you have to be more clear later on, but you may have to undo a little bit of teaching in that because that's one person with three modes or three offices. That's exactly what oneness teaches. Now, incidentally,
right, and I don't believe that. I mean, I understand that the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, they're all separate and they can act simultaneously. So that I understand. Well, I'm just not saying it correctly first.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit more to work with here. So when you gave your definition, it was pretty good. I would have improved it with one word. God is three simultaneous distinct persons, co-eternal, co-powerful persons. Okay. Use the word simultaneous persons because that will negate modal monarchianism or Sabellianism, the idea of three modes and manifestations, one after another. So simultaneous. So if you were to say that you are simultaneously a wife, daughter, and mother, well, then you have one person being simultaneously that. That's a difficulty of the doctrine of the Trinity. So what I would prefer is, and this isn't the best one either, but I think it's a little bit more accurate, is I use time. Time is past, present, and future, but it might even work with the other way, with your wife-daughter thing, but past is not the same thing as the future, which is not the same thing as the present, but they all share the same essence, but they're three different things, different parts. Now, the problem with any analogy, it's just going to fall apart. So what I would do is use various analogies as you're clarifying the strengths and the weaknesses of the analogies with proper doctrine. You can say wife, daughter, mother, except that with God, it's not one person who's three parts. It's one God. And we don't know how that works. And then you repeat the doctrine. One God in three simultaneous, eternal, co-powerful, distinct persons, or whatever you want to say. They say the same thing over and over through the years. So she gets that as you're working the analogies out as well. It's a toughie, but I think you're doing it.
No, I thank God He's given me the. I thank you for that, because I thank God He's given me the faith. Because if we really dwell in the Trinity, it can really blow our minds. We don't have the circuitry to understand it completely. But I do believe. I don't believe in the whatever you were saying, the unitarian. What were you calling it? The
it's
unitarian.
monomonarchianism or Sabellianism and oneness. They're all basically the same. Variations.
Right. Yeah. I don't believe Jesus had to become the Father. And then you couldn't become Jesus. It's simultaneous, like you said, which makes it the complete. I get that. So okay, that's good.
For you.
So I appreciate that. So I'll add the word simultaneous, and then that's it.
All right. God bless. I like that. All right. From Morgan Hill, California. We get to Gabriel from Chicago next. If you want to give the call, give the number. We're going to get back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 41, 31, 13. We took a left on Carroll Street.
Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. I realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
St. Jude continues to advance by increasing cure rates in childhood cancer. And donors are important to us because you get the feeling that you have a team behind you. When it comes to research and advancements, there are some things that only we can do because we have the resources and we have the focus. And so if St. Jude doesn't do it, who will?
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Swimming pools can be lots of fun, but they can be dangerous too, especially for young children. Always practice simple safety steps to prevent tragedies. Fence all pools. Teach kids to swim. And always watch them around water.
No horseplay.
Simple steps save lives. To learn new life-saving steps, visit poolsafely.gov. A public service message from the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission.
A message from the American Migraine Foundation.
It's an absolute nightmare.
There's pain that does not stop.
I feel trapped by migraine.
Migraine is a disabling disease.
I feel like I'm dying. You feel like the world's closing in on you. There's nothing you can do.
It's like you're trapped in your head. There's no escaping it. You can't leave your body.
Don't suffer alone. Make your move against migraine. Visit AmericanMigraineFoundation.org to find help, learn more, and get connected.
Don't let debt keep you down. Protect your career, your family, and your financial future with help from NFCC, a financial advocate who understands the money issues faced by current and former military members. Schedule a confidential financial review with an objective nonprofit NFCC financial counselor. Call us today at 877-404-6322 or visit us at nfcc.org/military. You owe it to yourself. Get relief.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Let's get to Gabriel from Illinois. How are you doing? Are you there?
Hey, Matt, how are you today?
All right, buddy.
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I had a question regarding ordination, specifically when it comes to officiating. I was just sharing with the person who took my call that I just recently started a home Bible study / church at my home since the beginning of the new year. I left my last church for various reasons. One of them did happen to be about the women pastors and preachers, so that's one of the reasons why I left. Anyways, so I started out having like just something at home, and it's been mainly family and some friends. And my brother-in-law started attending and coming. And make a long story short, just God's been, convicting him of a lot of things. And he was living with his girl. Well, he is living with his girlfriend, and was convinced that nobody could convince him to get married and to do things right. And so as he was coming to this Sunday Bible studies at my home, just out of the blue one day he came up and just kept thanking me and just said, for sharing and teaching the word. And he said, what, he's changed his mind. He wants to get married, do things right, and he wants me to be the one to marry him. I said, well, I felt I was flattered, but the only thing is officially I'm not a pastor. I'm just someone who's holding Bible studies at their home.
Okay.
So my question had to be in regards to ordination. There's a lot of online stuff, crazy stuff out there. Some legit.
Can you just go ahead, get your question, okay? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's what would you I guess your opinion on online ordination to
wait.
officiate a wedding?
Okay, you stay away from online ordination. Okay, ordination is a ceremony, a religious ceremony, particularly in Christianity, where men lay hands on another man for the issue and the purpose of ordaining them into ministry. Now, it can be done on women as well.
Okay.
All right, and it's usually
I get that.
Okay, usually it's an authentication of an outward call, of an inward call of the person. So take it seriously. This casual go online, get ordained. It's kind of insulting, okay, to the real issue of what it means in Christianity. As far as performing a marriage, as far as I'm concerned, you don't need to be ordained in order to perform a marriage. A marriage is ordained by God. Now, ordination and ordained is different, but in that sense, so marriage is from God. If two people are publicly making a covenant, a promissory covenant of faithfulness, that's what marriage is, to each other, and are doing it before witnesses, and are doing it before God, that constitutes a marriage. It's not the state that authenticates and makes the marriage legal. It's God authenticates the state, not the state that authenticates God. So I have performed weddings. I have performed weddings in California. I performed them in here in Idaho, and I'm officially ordained, but I don't need the state to tell me what I can and can't do in my religious stuff. Okay, so I stand against that. You don't need them. So they can. You need to check in your particular state. We don't go against them, but still, what is necessary, I think, is that they need to go down and get a license, so to speak, where it's filed on with
they
the
already
state.
have it, yeah.
Okay, and then witnesses are there.
He already got it, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The witnesses are there when you go through the ceremony, and they're married. I mean, I've told people before, a man and woman living together, supposed to be Christians, I'll say, look, let's talk, and I'll give them a little pep talk about sanctification and you before the Lord. I said, right now, I'll marry you too, right now, just to help you stop from sinning. No one's taken me up on it on that case. But I've told that to people. Right now, we can go through, I'll print up the sermon that I use, the little outline and the promissory things that make a marriage. We have witnesses here. We could do this, and you'll be married. And they go, oh, really? Okay. You don't have to have it in a big church, but it's a good idea. You can have it out in a park. I've done it behind hotels. I've married people in parks, on a back porch of a house, in churches, in hotels, banquet rooms, and things like that. Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of figured, and I agree with you 100% on everything. That's why I've been considering it and not taking it lightly, and so on and so forth. And in my state, unfortunately, in Illinois, it's very liberal, so there's really like no real credential, if you will, from like as other states has to do. It's basically if the two people agree that the person that's officiating the marriage is qualified to do it, then that's good enough. So my thing is just if I were to go through with that is with the understanding that no, I'm not quote unquote a pastor or quote unquote by legal standards according to some states, of course not mine, that I'm good to do that. So that was like my big concern is obviously.
Did we lose you? I guess we lost him. Okay, there are 2 seconds, and I guess we lost him. So, folks, I also want to say you need to be careful, and it's not just a willy-nilly thing, but I do believe you should submit to the state as much as is reasonable, and get a license and file it with the state. No problem there, but that filing doesn't make it official. So think about this. Here's an illustration. Let's say a bunch of you guys are on a plane and you crash land on an island, and you're there for a few years. There's no ordained minister. There's no judges. It's just a bunch of guys and girls, and a couple wants to get married. What do? Well, I'm sorry, no minister here. No official ordained. You can't get married. No. You go through the ceremony right there. You make a public profession. That's what a marriage is. It is a covenant contract with a covenant sign, the sign being the ring. It's a promise of faithfulness, sexual purity to one another, obligation to protect, obligation to provide, to be loyal, to all this stuff that you go through. This is what the promise is, and you publicly commit to that. That's where the marriage occurs. It occurs in that part of the ceremony of the promise of one person to commit to another with those covenant boundaries. Keep only to yourself and to no one else through sickness and health until death do you part, where the covenant is broken through death. And things like that. This is all covenant. It's biblical. And that makes a marriage, not the state putting a stamp on your piece of paper. That makes it official. That's not what makes a marriage. All right? It's a covenant before God. The secularists think it's a stamp approval by the state. Well, then the state can just get rid of it as well. And you can get divorced and it doesn't make any difference. No, when it's before God, it's before God. So I take marriage seriously, my wife and I do. And because we're Christians, that's why we're still married. And there were some rough times where we didn't want to be married to each other. But we're married. And that's it. We're married, made a covenant before God. Neither one of us have broken the covenant. And we're stuck. And we said to each other, well, we're stuck. We're going to work it out. And we did. And she's so lucky to have me. Man, she's a blessed woman. I'm so wonderful. All right, let's get to Rob from Iowa. Rob, how are you? Hello, Rob.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the show. Hello. Listen to Matchlick Live. You got a question?
Hi, I have a question. Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
I have a question about women in ministry.
Okay.
I totally agree with you about women not being elders or pastors, but what about a worship leader or a deacon?
It depends on how a deacon is described, because a deacon, as a diakonos, is also like presbyteros and episkopos in the Greek, to be a husband of one wife, a man of one woman. So the deacon is specifically stated to follow the same qualifications as an elder and a bishop. Elder and a bishop, they're pretty much interchangeable. So there's that. The difference, though, with some elders is that sometimes churches use the title of deacon, and they shouldn't do that, but they use the title of deacon, and it just means a servant. Diakonoi is a servant. And so they have people who serve in this ministry and serve there. They're not an authority over anybody, but they're serving, and they kind of lead and guide. And so they're not in spiritual authority over men, and they call them deacons. I don't agree with them calling them that, but when they do that, then that deacon is not an authoritative position. They should stay with the biblical terms and biblical usages. But there's no problem with a woman being a worship leader. Church I go to, a woman, no problem. She does a great job.
So I have a question about that. So what if the woman on stage between the songs is commenting about different things and sometimes almost like a little sermonette?
Well, then the pastor should talk to her. Okay? If I pastor had a woman, a worship leader, and she would come to me and say, look, do you mind if I give a word between songs occasionally if I feel led? I say, well, yeah, as long as it's not approaching a sermon, or you're just saying, Jesus, you're singing about evangelism, and God's loved the world, that gave his only son. She quotes it and says, this is for all of us, that we're We have to go out and evangelize. And then she goes, that's not a sermon. That's just a comment. So I know that some women want to be in that
very
place.
much.
All right. Sounds good.
Right. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. God bless.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. So we've got nobody waiting right now. We've got a couple of minutes. Let me just finish off with this topic. What I say can be misconstrued as an arrogant, misogynistic, bigoted, narrow-minded, white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant theological perspective. And if people want to say that, well, that's up to them. However, the Bible says that a woman is not to teach or exercise authority over a man in the church, but remain silent. Word silent there in 1 Timothy 2:12 is hesukia. It means keep it down. It doesn't mean absolute silent like the Greek word sagao. And it's not there in the Greek. So what it means is a woman is not to teach or exercise authority over a man, but remain silent. In other words, keep it down. In this issue, just don't push it, because Adam was first created. So it's not a cultural thing. The next chapter, that's 1 Timothy 3:15, Paul says he's giving instruction on how people are to behave in the household of God. So he is giving instruction on how the church is to behave. This is clear. It's what it says. The elders to be in the Greek, a man of one woman. A man of one woman. That's what it says. A pastor is by default an elder. You can go to 1 Timothy 5:17 on this. So I'm going to just say this blatantly. I'm going to say it lovingly and truthfully. But if you are a woman pastor and elder here in America, under normal circumstances, you are outside of the will of God. If you, as a man or a woman, support the idea of being a pastor and elder, you are outside the will of God in that area. You need to repent. Women who are pastors and elders need to put in place a man to do that job, and they need to step down from that. It's not their place. It's the place of the man. Now, maybe sometime I might do a little exposition on why this is so important. But I only have about a minute. Let me just say this. That God came to Adam, not Adam and Eve, and not Eve in the garden after the sin. Came to the man and said, where, after they both sinned, the man was the one who was held responsible first. The men are the ones who are to lead their wives. The men are the ones who are to lead in the truth, and the men are the ones who are to take the consequences before the wife as they protect their wives and protect the bride, which is the church. They're to lead the best they can. And we need men to do that, and it's not the place of the woman. It's out of order when women are doing that. Now, that's an objection to that. We can talk tomorrow, all right? May the Lord bless you, and that's the truth of God's word. And we'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, another hiccup. All right, now can you guys hear me in YouTube room? Hold on, I gotta get this call. Hello?
Hey, Matt.
Hi, who's this?
It's Brian.
That's nice. Who's Brian?
We talk all the time. You always forget me. I was just